The AllStar app, the #1 app in the business. UFC, Bellator, One Championship, PFL, and more. Get the app right now. Link in description. All right, Kyle. Man, I woke up today, Kyle, and I'm getting all these messages right about James Krause. Have you been following this situation about the whole gambling thing?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really paid attention to it too much. My one of my buddies on my team was kind of trying to explain it to me. Yeah, I don't know too much about it. I'd have to do a little more research on it. I know a very small gist of it, but from what it sounds like, it sounds pretty crazy. So
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. Do you gamble? Do you look at like odds and shit like that?
for fights,
Yeah.
no, not really. If I had put any money on anything, it's most of the time it's like college football or anything like that. I really don't really gamble on fights too much.
All right, I think that's probably best for fighters, right? With everything that's
Yeah, that's what
going
it
on right
seems
now.
like. Yeah, that's what it seems
It's getting wild, man. They just
Yeah,
banned
yeah.
UFC they've just banned gambling in like one of the states in Canada or one of the regions or
Really?
whatever you want to call it. Yeah, they just did it today.
Yeah,
I
that's
was just
what.
like,
Okay, so
damn.
that's what my buddy was telling me a while ago. Man, that's
Yeah,
nuts.
it
Yeah,
is. It is.
that's not that good. I don't think that's not a good thing.
That's not a
You
good
know?
sign for a lot. Well, for the
No.
UFC especially.
Mm-mm.
But you don't fight for the UFC, man. You fight for Bellator. So let's get into some Bellator stuff. You got this fight, man, coming up on December 9th, Bellator 289, Jaleel Willis. Were you surprised that they matched you up against him?
Man, I try to get a fight a couple times already throughout the year, and I was reading something else, and I knew they were kind of having some issues with like some matchmaking stuff, and I fought my last fight with with two fractures in my hand, so I had to take some time off, and yeah, I had to let that heal, and then there was a couple fights that were offered that were I thought were going to go through. They didn't go through, and then this one was offered, and obviously before the holidays and stuff like that, I haven't fought again this year, so I needed another fight, and um, so I wasn't too shocked, to be totally honest with you. I knew they were trying to get me a fight because I asked for one, and this was the guy that said yes, and so now we're here. Now we're here.
Has it been frustrating to actually get matched up, throughout the years? I've noticed that you've only fought twice a year. I'm pretty sure you want to fight more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I prior I was just trying to get better. I knew I was where I was in my career, and how I needed to get better, and I was already in the top 10, and so I was really focusing on just getting better at the time. I didn't really think that I was where I was supposed to be, and as far as just skill and stuff like that. But that's also me being hard on myself. But I'm at a place now where I'd like to ramp it up 2 or 3 times next year, and and try to get in there as much as I can from now on. I'm almost 30 years old, so I'm kind of starting to get to that prime age of fighting, and that's kind of what I would like to start doing after this one.
So you want to get to the talk of the top 5 basically within the
Yeah,
next year.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, now I do for sure. I had a question. I think after 2 fights ago, they asked me if I was ready for being a top 10, and I told them I was just, if that's where they want to put me, okay. I wouldn't mind it at all, obviously. But now, I know I deserve to be in the top 10. I've beaten guys that are now in the top 10 now. This last fight, so. I know where I stand. I'm sparring a lot of guys now and I'm having a lot of success that I used to not have, I think I'm ready, man. I know I'm ready actually, and this next Friday will tell everything.
Did that just happen recently for you, or was it, a couple fights ago that you realized I'm ready for
No,
that top
no,
5?
yeah, I wouldn't say it was recent. I could feel myself getting better. I've been in this now for 5 years, and I just wanted to make sure that I was where I needed to be. I can look myself in the mirror, and there's no ego when it comes to how I train and the things that I think of, and I just wanted to make sure that I was ready for what was going to come, and Now that I'm having the success I am in my training and sparring, I know that there's not a lot of people that are going to be able to stand with what I'm going to bring.
With Jaleel, he's on a 2-fight losing streak. And do you see like a common theme to those 2 fights? Have you went back and watched them?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've watched some stuff on him. He fought the Russian dude who he's been submitting everybody. So it's kind of hard to tell with him because that guy, he's obviously very good on the ground. The last one was a little bit shocking, to be honest with you. I'm not taking anything away from Sabah, but I mean, the guy just don't really submit people. I mean, he knocks people out, and that's just what he does. So for him to get submitted there, that was a little bit like, whoa, okay. But there is a common theme. I would like to exploit the same theme. That's obviously what anyone would do when you see a guy lose by 2 submissions. That's something that I feel like I'm gotten very good at is the ground. So yeah, I mean, I see a theme. There's a path of victory there that I'm going to try to exploit. But I'm also gotten a lot better everywhere. This is the most comfortable I've ever been. Just when I'm sparring and just with my striking and things like that. I come from a wrestling background, and I never, not one time in my life did I go to a boxing gym or a kickboxing gym. So it was all so new. But now I feel like I'm seeing things, I can do things, I'm setting traps and things like that I've never been able to do until now.
Yeah, that's one of the most dangerous skill sets, right? A strong wrestler with dangerous striking. I mean, you don't even really need to have jujitsu, to be honest.
No, I mean, it does help, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of very good jiu-jitsu guys that kind
Mm.
of get smashed by good wrestlers, and you
Yeah,
just teach us 2 or 3 chokes, the pressure and things like that. Those things start opening up. So,
for sure. And who have you been sparring throughout the year?
well, I sparred for the beginning of camp. I didn't know about a fight until 8 weeks out. So I started helping Usman train for his title fight
Okay.
about 11 weeks out. So I was with him for probably 6 weeks, just training, sparring with him 3 days a week. And then from then I went on, and I have a guy that I train with now. He's a young guy, but he's a beast. His name is Muhammad. So I started sparring with him. Big, strong, just young kid. He's good. He's ready. He's really good. And then Joe Giannetti, he just came to AK,
Okay.
so I finished off my rounds with him. So he's a little bit different, but he's very good too. He's experienced. So
Tall, long guy, right?
yeah, very long. It has
Yeah.
some funky submission game.
Yeah.
Striking's clean. Yeah, very tough guy. Very good
Yeah, not
camp
a
too. So
not a bad look to have. The combination. You got Usman, then you go to
no,
Joe Giannetti. It's a good
yeah, yeah, yeah.
spectrum you have of sparring partners.
Yeah, I had very good sparring this camp. This was probably the first time that it was that consistent at that level. So
How was it fighting with the fractures in your hand, man? Like, how did you adjust? Did you have to change up anything, like, heading into the
I
fight,
had
like
to,
your game plan?
yeah. I mean, it was hurt, man. I had 2 fractures in the first and second metatarsal,
Mhm.
and I mean I mean, I didn't do an MRI or anything, but they said normally when you have something like that, you kind of deal with some ligament damage. So, I mean, it was pretty beat up going into the fight. Um, but I was also, I was sparring and stuff like that, so I knew I could get through it. I just had to punch a little bit different. I used my jab a little bit more than I normally would have. But as far as like everything else, once you get out there and you start rocking and rolling, it's kind of hard to think about. My hand hurts. It's for me. I'm focused on one goal, and that's to get a win and get my hand raised. And so my hand just after it was very sore, but during I got through it. I felt it a couple of times, but
How was the recovery to get it back to 100%?
it took a while. I think fighting because I sparred probably 3 or 4 weeks with it hurt, and then fighting an actual fight. I think it set it back a little bit. I mean, it took me about 2 or 3 months to kind of get everything back, but I mean, I was training pretty quickly. I was doing more grappling. I wasn't punching too much, but as far as grappling and wrestling and things like that, I was able to kind of get going at about 6 weeks out.
Oh, so you're able to like grab things with your hand, just you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
can
yeah.
have impact.
Yeah, the impact is what was bothering it.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Like how, they always say fighters never go into a fight 100%. And have you ever went into a fight 100%?
Not these last couple, no. I never really disclose or talk about the things that I deal with, just in
Yeah.
case something happens. I don't ever want like an excuse for anything, but no, I tore my meniscus the fight before during camp, and I fought with a torn meniscus in that fight. So, but this fight, I'm very healthy, full healthy. This is the first time since probably the last 3 fights that I've been fully healthy. So I'm pretty excited about that.
It's funny because you just told me that you don't disclose anything, and then you come in and
Well, I mean, like
it is
before
what
my
it is.
fights.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it is what it
before. I
is.
don't want,
Yeah,
like that's my knees healed, my
of
hands
course,
healed. Those are things that happen past. I'm not
of
dealing with
course.
any of those right now. Like before, I
So,
don't really say.
you get to focus on your grappling. Most likely, you get to focus on your submission game before you actually get back into the striking. So, is that what you like did before actually just getting into camp as well? Is just like focus
Yeah,
more on just grappling stuff.
I did a lot of jujitsu. I actually I think that me hurting my hand was kind of a blessing in disguise. I was grappling 2 or 3 times a day, um, learning from some very good guys, doing some good stuff. And yeah, I mean, I think it elevated my game a lot. I want to be a guy that don't just take you down and hold you down and pressure
Mhm.
you, and I want to be a guy that can finish you on the ground. And I really put a lot of focus on that. It's going to be hard to stop my takedowns, and that's just years and years of training at a high level doing that stuff. So if I can take you down and start submitting people, I'll be I think that'll be a huge threat.
For sure, for sure. And in this one, man, what do you need? Like, what type of performance do you need to skyrocket yourself up the ranks?
I always answer this question kind of the same. Every time you win, I mean, whether or not I'm like oh, look at that guy, he's fancy, da da da. At some point, you're gonna have to give me my respect. And I'm not one of those guys that are gonna run my mouth and talk shit and do all that. I just, unless I absolutely need to or you start it, then it is what it is. But I'm very fully capable of doing a lot of different things in the cage now that I feel like I've been doing in my sparring, and if I can execute what I think I'm going to be able to execute in this fight, then I think people will start to see, man, this dude's getting a lot better every fight, and that keeps happening. I don't see a lot of people being able to beat me.
A fight that you're probably gonna have your eye on early next year is at Bellator 291, Yaroslav Amosov versus Logan Storley. That's a interesting matchup, man. I love it. I love the styles that they bring. Like, what do you see in that fight that a person like me, a spectator, someone that's not in the fight game, that doesn't fight, see?
I think Storley has to do what he did the last one. I think he has to put a very high pace on this guy. I don't think Amosov's. I don't know if his cardio doesn't look. I know he does a lot, but he's very relaxed out there. But Logan kind of put a pace on him, and you could see Amosov got a little bit tired. That's just a Division 1 wrestler thing. One if the guy might be better than you, but you put a pace on him, you might be able to beat him. So I think Storley has to do the same thing. Amosov's great everywhere. You
Yeah.
can't deny that. He's good on his feet. He's good on grappling. He's a good wrestler. So I mean, he just has to continue to do what he's doing until someone can derail him. And I think Storley's going to have to do just as much, if not more, to try to break him. And if he can break him somehow, start landing some bigger shots. Put a little threat on the striking this time, and you know, try to hurt him. Try to hurt him, make him bleed and shit like that. So, guy's a champ for a
It's
reason, man. He's good.
yeah. And he went to war. He's coming back from war. Like
Yeah, for sure. And
that
that's
could make a different animal.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, for sure. And that's and you got to respect that. The guy went over and fought for his country, and he took time off of doing what he loves and what he gets paid to do to defend his country. So, yeah, man, that dude is a beast. You can't really take that
Yes.
from him.
December 9th, man. Bellator 289. Mohegan Sun Arena. Kyle, appreciate the time, man. Go to the
Yeah.
descriptions, download the AllStar app, and yeah, man, we'll speak again, man. Early next year. Hopefully, you'll be back that quick.
Yeah, that's the plan, bro.